An absolute stunner on Thursday morning as the Denver Broncos release veteran safety Justin Simmons. What type of impact does this have on the Broncos? You get that much more in today's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos.
You are Locked On Broncos, your daily Denver Broncos podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Broncos Country? Welcome into a brand new episode, Locked On Broncos, your daily Denver Broncos podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much to all the everydayers out there for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Just a reminder, you can get Locked On Broncos for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe or that follow button down below so you never miss out on what's going on with your favorite team. For all the breaking news stuff, all the in-season analysis, you get all that here. I'm Cody Roark, Broncos reporter for Mile High Sports, joined alongside, as always, by Sayre Bedinger, expert, predominantlyorange.com. And we have some breaking news here this morning. Broncos Country, it's a sad day here for the state of the franchise. Thursday morning, I was walking around downtown Denver at an appointment. I get the notification on my phone. I'm sure as all of you did as well, early on Thursday morning. The Denver Broncos are releasing safety Justin Simmons. Sayre, this is a bombshell. This is a huge move by the Broncos and not a very popular one. This is one that I think has impacted a lot of the fan base from just my initial replies and the mentions that I've seen. I think you have a fan base that's devastated about this type of move. But unfortunately, there was always a chance that this could have possibly happened. And it just stinks, though. Obviously, all pro on the field, all pro off the field. The Denver Broncos are going to be without Justin Simmons in 2024. It's hard to wrap your head around this.
It is. I mean, 30 interceptions since he came into the league in 2016. Justin Simmons has the most of any NFL player, more interceptions than any player since. That's a long time, 2016 to present day. That's a very long time to be that productive. And I think the reason why so many in Broncos country are upset by this is because you have an ownership group that says we want to win more than we did last year, which is 8 games, right? And so now you've decided to release Russell Wilson. You've cut Justin Simmons. I mean, the key players from this team, I guess. I mean, and the thing that I have with it, Cody, is like, yes, the mourning period for, I mean, look, if you're watching this show on YouTube, you see the Justin Simmons jersey behind me every day, which he was gracious enough to sign. You can't really see that on the camera, but I mean, it's everybody's favorite Bronco. He's the consummate Bronco, right? He's the guy who hasn't given up despite the fact the team has been terrible the last handful of years. He's been so productive, such a staple in the community, so great to Broncos fans. And everybody, it seems like, Cody, has a story of one way or another how Justin Simmons has impacted them personally, because he does take the time to go out and be there for the fans. And he understands his platform as an athlete. I love that about him. I think the fact is, for the Broncos, like, you had to find ways to get cap compliant. Whether or not you had Russell Wilson on the roster, or if you released him as the Broncos did, this type of stuff was bound to happen. When you sign that contract extension with Russ, you put that quarterback contract on your financial books. Players like Justin Simmons and other players that we're going to soon see, they become cap casualties as a result of it. It does stink to see that. I think the most shocking part, Cody, the worst part about it is you couldn't trade him, but the safety market is just too overloaded.
When you look at it as well, you and I were having a conversation before we started recording and asking ourselves, like, is safety now the running back position of the defense in terms of what you pay guys? Like, I think the safety position, when we talk about defense in today's NFL, I feel like it's one of the most important positions to have. And Sayre, I can't help but go back to the times this season where Justin was not on the field for Denver. We saw how bad Denver's defense was in terms of communication. He was the quarterback of the defense. So ironically enough, the Broncos get rid of their quarterback this week. Then they get rid of the quarterback of their defense. I think the number one thing that's also tough too, like from the fan standpoint, right? You mentioned the jersey, like Justin Simmons of all people being released, I think makes it to the reality. Like, I don't know if you can ever buy a jersey anymore of like your favorite players, because even your best players, your top players, have a chance of being let go. This is just, it's tough when you talk about the overall impact, right? On the field, Justin, quarterback and of the defense, gets guys lined up, like knows the defensive scheme in and out. When there's a motion or there's an offensive line, like change, formation shift, he's automatically checking into the defensive play call that they need to be into to be the best matched up as possible, right? Very underrated against the run. One of the best ball hawk middle post safeties in the National Football League. And then you talk about just the impact off the field. The Broncos back-to-back-to-back Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for a 3-year stretch. Just what he and his wife Taryn do in the community of Denver. They're amazing people. I mean, genuinely one of the most amazing groups of people I've ever had the chance to get to know. You mentioned the experiences that Justin has provided for so many people. He's gone above and beyond for so many in the city of Denver. So I know Denver's going to miss him. We thought he was going to be a lifelong Bronco, right? You think about cornerstone franchise player Justin Simmons is the one guy you talk about on this Broncos roster that comes to mind, the longest tenured Bronco at this point. No more now going forward into 2024 here. And I think another thing that you're going to see a lot of anger, right? You've thrown out at Sean Payton, rightfully so, and George Payton because of the Russell Wilson contract from the financial standpoint. So, Sayre, I wanted to get your perspective on here. Like, this is the unfortunate nature of the business side of the NFL, is that there is the money impact. The Broncos financially have to become cap compliant. This helps get them closer, even though it is a tough pill here to swallow.
Yeah, so this move obviously saves the Broncos a lot of money on the salary cap, 14.5 million to be exact. And Justin Simmons had a salary cap hit over 18 million. So, I mean, this is one of those moves where with no guaranteed money left on his deal, we had talked about this in previous shows as well. Like, Justin needs to consider his own future as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they had meetings, Justin and the Broncos front office, and they're saying, look, like, we're not going to probably extend you here. We may keep you at this price, but at the same time, like, where do you want to go to get the most guaranteed money going forward? And Justin now accelerated his free agency by a year. The Broncos let him go before the legal negotiating period, which means that Justin could sign anywhere right now. I mean, once this move is official, he can go sign anywhere that he wants to, and he can get out ahead of most of the rest of this deep safety crop in free agency. So this is a do-right move by the player. Don't feel like if you're a Broncos fan sitting there thinking, man, the Broncos really did Justin Simmons dirty. This is the exact opposite of doing a player dirty. This is doing the right thing they're helping him in a big way. So I think, Justin, go play for a contender, man. Go find a place where you can win right away. I know Cody and I disagree on the potential destination here as we were talking before the show, but I mean, I would love to see Justin have some success in the NFL, and I'll be fascinated to hear what he has to say now that he's leaving Denver. I'm sure he'll have great things to say about the city of Denver, Broncos Country. I'll be intrigued as this mass exodus of Broncos players continues to happen in 2024, Cody, what all these guys say about the organization now that they're gone.
The outlook of this team from the outside looking in and the perception of Broncos Country is very, very bleak right now. I think there are a lot of Broncos fans that have no idea what the vision is. And heck, to be honest with you, I don't even know what the vision of this team is in the direction that they're going. But we are fixing to find out here sooner rather than later. How does the release of Justin Simmons, though, impact the Broncos at the safety position? What does it look like? We'll dive deep into that here on today's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos. Today's Locked On Broncos podcast is brought to you by our friends over there at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors, they've got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Once again, that's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Today's episode of the show is also brought to you by our friends over there at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Once again, Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer.
Is the safety position for the Denver Broncos in dire straits after cutting Justin Simmons? What the heck are the team? What are they going to do now that Justin Simmons is no longer there? They got to replace a ton of production on the back end of this defense and only a couple guys under contract. So there could be a flurry of activity now at the safety position. And Cody and I were going to break that down. What are the Broncos going to do at the safety position next after cutting Justin Simmons on today's bonus episode, Locked On Broncos? Want to say thank you to every single one of you that makes us your first listen of the day every single day, especially in the offseason where we may not be just your first listen of the day. When there's bonus things that happen, hey, we might be your second, third listen. You never know how many times Cody and I are going to set up in the studio in the offseason. So keep your head on a swivel there and keep tuned in to Locked On Broncos all offseason long. Cody, the Broncos have cut Justin Simmons. We're moving forward. I mean, there's no time to really dwell on the past, is there? We've got to figure out what is the team going to do next. I've seen multiple reports coming out from Chris Thomason and others that the Broncos are working to re-sign PJ Locke. I know you love PJ. Broncos obviously really love PJ. PJ Locke and Caden Sterns, is that the duo for the future for this team?
Yeah, and look, I think there's a very strong possibility. I know the guarantee Caden Sterns will be right now, I think, is the penciled in, like, hey, he's going to start for the Broncos. And look, we all know, like, as much like Caden put out a tweet last week saying, God, I pray, I just pray for health this season. Like, he's battled some unfortunate injuries, but I don't think anyone can deny, like, when you see Caden Sterns on the field fully healthy, gosh, man, he is a playmaker. And I go back to that 2 interception performance against the Colts just a couple seasons ago. He is a ball hawk. He's a fantastic player. If he's fully healthy, I think that Denver has a really, really good player on their hands at safety. That gives me a little bit of comfort, right? And if PJ Locke does re-sign, in fact, then I think that Denver's going to be okay at safety. Justin has been very instrumental to those guys in that locker room, to Caden, to PJ. He's helped mentor them alongside Kareem Jackson. Those guys have so much love and respect for Kareem and Justin, and now they have a chance to maybe kind of carry the torch now for those guys. But also at the same time, I think for me, you and I were talking off air, like if I'm PJ Locke, right, and I'm seeing everything that's going on here, like, do you want to come back to Denver, right? And I think that's just the emotional side of the brain thinking about it from a financial standpoint, knowing like, hey, I'm going to get more money than I've had so far, and I'm going to start. The allure to come back to Denver is certainly more appealing, and PJ has roots established here. PJ is a guy who's very loved by Vance Joseph. Now, we know that the secondary coach is going to be a little different, obviously, with Jim Leonard coming in replacing CP, but Denver has 2 guys right here that can produce for you, right? And I know there's some contingencies that have to go into effect, but behind those guys, Sayre, if it's Caden and if it's PJ that are starting, I am extremely worried about the depth at safety behind those guys, right? You do have Delaren Turner-Yell, who's not going to be ready for the start of the season because of his ACL injury. He just had surgery just about a month ago. He's not going to be ready to be, full go. Like in the season, he'll be ready. He'll be on the PUP list to start the year, more than likely. You have JL Skinner, who's widely unproven at this point. Do we see Devin Key, who's got a futures contract? Does this elevate him up to the roster now? Like, he's going to compete in training camp, but what does Denver do at this position here to really address depth? And that is my biggest concern right now. Like, if it is PJ, if it is Caden, I like that. But the depth, if one of those guys goes down, I'm terrified of that a little bit, to be honest with you.
Right. And the Broncos do still have a ways to go to not only get salary cap compliant, but they need to at least they need to create space to be able to go to free agency and find some budget friendly players to fill out the depth on this team. Like, the biggest issue with cutting Russell Wilson, Justin Simmons, making all these moves is like the Broncos really don't have a ton of NFL draft capital to say, oh yeah, well, you cut Justin Simmons, just go in the 3rd round and get another safety. And the Broncos may go for a safety in the 3rd round of this draft, but they only have 2 selections in the top 3 rounds. And it's not like they're the Green Bay Packers with 11 picks in this draft. We could see the Broncos now forced to trade down from that number 12 spot, depending on if once again, we have to talk about the quarterback position. So the safety ripple effect is all over the place. But luckily, this is a very, very deep free agency class. Cody and I, we've touched on it in previous episodes of the show. But when
There's
you
new
look
additions
at
now.
There's lots of new additions. Kevin Byard just released. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde both are gone from the Buffalo Bills this season. So there's veterans available. There's young guys available. Antoine Winfield Jr. just got franchise tagged by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he's really the only like top tier safety. When you think of the best safeties in the NFL right now, Cody, I'd reckon to guess that most of the guys that people could name are hitting free agency this offseason. And then that's just the reality of this position group right now. So the Broncos could go to free agency and get CJ Gardner-Johnson for probably $5 million. And I think that's ties to Sean Payton. That's very realistic. I don't remember if Marcus May was signed to the Saints when Sean Payton was still there, but the Saints just cut him. Yeah. So there may be something there. I mean, you never know. It's just, I think there's so many guys available. This is such a buyer's market at the safety position that the Broncos will be able to go. They'll be able to get PJ Locke back. They'll be able to raise the floor with another veteran or player who has some experience in free agency. It's just going to be a matter of we need to get the rest of these ducks in a row of getting under the salary cap and making sure you have that flexibility.
Quandre Diggs would be a name that I'd also be intrigued in. I know he's been banged up a little bit. I mean, that whole Seattle duo, I'm not going to, I'm saying no already to Jamal Adams, folks. Like, that might have been outside of the whole, everyone's talking about the Russell Wilson trade. That might have actually been one of the worst trades in NFL history when you look back at it as well. But I mean, obviously a lot of questions here for Denver at the safety position, a lot of uncertainty in Broncos country. We outlined some of the options in the house here. What is your level of comfort? If it is Caden Sterns and PJ Locke, if you're watching here's bonus episode Locked On Broncos, make sure that you let us know. But hey, the conversation isn't going to stop. We anticipate that there will be some more moves in the next 24 to 48 hours of this Broncos team as they look to become cap compliant by next Wednesday, 2:00 p.m. Mountain Time. And that means there are ripple effects, right? That's a term you're going to hear on Locked On Broncos because every decision they make, what is the butterfly effect? Is there going to be, what's the positive outcome of the potential move or decision that the team makes? And what's the negative? Like Sayre and I, we're going to look at every angle here and how it impacts his team going into 2024. You can expect that breakdown on tomorrow's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos.